Good evening, Roberts. Hi.
Good evening to you, Nika, and good evening, Mr. Potts.
Good evening, sir, and welcome to Gael on In the Ring. Here is the hard punching. In the Ring, we spin 01.
Okay.
We bring the facts to you, the stubborn facts, the hard facts, the truth. And you know how stubborn the truth can be. So, good evening, sir, and you can start with the truth.
One thing, I think I better also enlighten people a little bit. 25 years ago, you were part of a 6-member cabinet-approved team. And this was appointed,
Wait.
am I wrong?
Cabinet-approved team?
Sorry, cabinet-appointed.
Okay, go on.
I'm sorry. Cabinet-appointed team that was led by you. And you all went into 10 institutions within Trinidad. Was it only Trinidad or Trinidad and Tobago?
No, only Trinidad.
Only Trinidad. And you actually developed a blueprint for social service delivery systems, and it was never implemented. And also the report has disappeared. I would like to know why, first of all.
It's an almost sweet experience for me to look back. I'm a dinosaur in this now. I'm from a bygone era. And for me to be dragged back out, and suddenly something we did 25 years ago, and think about that. Think about that. For something we did 25 years ago to suddenly be relevant now. And from what I read in this report that's just come out, it's deja vu.
Yeah.
It means you had vision.
I've seen this movie. Nothing much has changed. Even some of the recommendations that we made then are being echoed now. I had a laugh when I saw that one of the new things they want to introduce is it's a commissioner for children, I think it's called. There's a position that has existed from the beginning of the Ministry of Social Development when they were involved in children's homes in Trinidad. And that position is called Inspector of Homes.
Right.
When we went in originally with our task force, that position had not been filled in 15 years. And that was 25 years ago. But
Wow.
that position had not been filled in 15 years. So for them to now say, oh, we're going to make this new position. No, you're not. All you've done is you've changed the label.
Yeah.
The position always existed. The only thing they've added in is now there's a component where the children in the homes, or I guess whistleblowers within the administrations of these homes, can directly lodge their complaint straight to the commissioner. In our day, we didn't have the benefit of social media. We didn't have Facebook and WhatsApp and all of these different things. We didn't have email. Everything had to be literally, you had to sneak notes out, snail mail,
Yeah.
for you to get your story out.
Snail mail, or maybe nothing at all, because you'll be talking to someone. The victims would have talked to someone, or maybe someone who overheard, and there's no one that you could talk to. There's no confidence within the system.
Right. So that's the only new dimension in this.
Right.
I'm laughing. Maybe I should apply to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for 25 years back pay.
Why not?
Why?
Why not?
Why? No, but why? I discovered that clause when I was trying to figure out how we could get locus standi so that we could legitimately enter the homes and look at the books and so on. And as it turns out, the position of inspector of homes is at the discretion of the minister,
Which minister is that?
the minister of social development.
Who's that? That's
Okay, now it's social
Donna?
development and family services and all of this kind of thing. But whoever's in charge, that's what existed then. I cannot speak about now. I'm talking about 25 years ago, 1997. When I found that clause, I called up Manohar Ramsaran. And I have to tell you, that man, you know, the country owes him a debt of gratitude. Because this whole thing would never have come to light unless he took it on himself for him to champion this. Otherwise, my report wouldn't exist. Wow. There was a previous report that was done by a child psychologist. I forget his name now. I can see his face, but I forget his name. And he was one of a three-man committee. And what they wrote was pap. It was pap. Because they did no investigation. They met with the administrators of a few homes and said, no, everything's good, and that was that. But yet, in my position at the time, you have to remember, I come with baggage, Nika.
Yeah.
You're young, you wouldn't remember me. But from the 80s onward, I was the face of domestic violence in Trinidad and Tobago. I was the one that made it a national issue. I was the one that continually talked about it, wrote about it in the papers. I had a column that ran in The Guardian for 5 years until Patrick Manning wanted it shut down.
Oh.
That's a whole other story. I'm not going into that.
Yeah.
But that's how I ended up being chosen for this task force when it was formed, because I was the go-to guy. Not that I was anything special.
Right, but
I'm not.
Yeah, because
But it's just that I was the most well-known and respected individual because I was the one that had been championing this since 1988.
Just to clarify for the viewers
So,
who may not
because-
understand, you are a psychologist. And I think that many persons who may be young'uns like myself, they may not understand why you, because you could be easily an activist writing, but no, you're actually a trained psychologist. So you actually know, you understand the intervention and the situation at hand.
I was at the time the only victimologist in the entire Caribbean.
Wow.
And that is a psychologist specializing in working with victims of violence and survivors of abuse and trauma. You know, one very prominent individual at UWI, I'm not going to call his name, for years poo-pooed, oh, there's no such thing. I had the last laugh when he eventually started teaching criminology, and one of the subjects was victimology. And I had a good laugh over that. But I was the only victimologist at the time. And I was and remain a life member of the World Society of Victimology.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, that was some of my my credit.
And a man of the soil, a very passionate man of the soil. So, I mean...
Of both soils, because although
Yeah,
I was
Tobago.
born in Trinidad, I grew up in Tobago. You and I have a little bit of that in common. So I see Buxo raised his head and looked at me, oh, really?
Yes.
I'm a full-bred Tobagonian.
But that's not a bad thing.
No,
My father was A&R Robinson's original campaign manager. A&R used to bounce me on his knee when I was a little boy.
Good people,
So
you come from good
there's
stuff.
some curious history there. But anyways, let's move on.
Yes, moving on. So, okay, so 25 years ago, you discovered there was a lot of sexual abuse. The chosen wards were groomed for politicians and businessmen. I don't know if it's for and by.
Let me stop
I'm
you.
going with the article.
Let
We
me
have to
stop
go
you there,
with the
Nika.
article.
I know, but I need to stop. I need to stop you.
Okay.
That is an unfortunate headline. I know Guardian ran it because they thought, oh, this is going to get readership. But that wasn't what I was trying to say.
Oh.
Yes, indeed, that was the case. Yes. But I don't want anybody getting the idea that this was the norm. It was exceptional.
Okay.
There existed, and probably to this day, although the faces have changed, there existed at that time a very tight-knit pedophile group in Trinidad, adults, and they trucked in children. Straightforward. And a couple of them were in fact, one in particular was a high-ranking political individual. But that was not my intent. It was never meant for it to be, that is the headline, ooh, they're grooming for politicians. No. That was a subset of a much larger thing. Don't do what most people do. You have to think of this as a mosaic. You have to think of it as a mosaic. Don't focus on one tile. Look at the picture. Okay?
But nevertheless, we have seen a lot of reports come from time to time again about physical abuse, fraud, misappropriation of funds, and the children, they run away from time to time. And it's also has become a somewhat...
But it's not from time to time, Nika.
It's kind of becoming the norm.
But it has been the norm.
Right.
We knew it 25 years ago. Nothing has changed. If nothing else, it has actually become more entrenched. And the checks and balances that were supposed to have been put in place,
Never done.
yeah, that's what the Children's Authority was originally intended to be, an oversight entity. Now suddenly Children's Authority is running its own homes? When did that happen?
Yeah, that's a big question. So why are we suddenly alarmed? And you know, why are we desensitized at the same time? It's sort of a battle that I personally am going through. I'm saying, are we supposed to be alarmed? Is this supposed to be the norm? What is happening? Because we're hearing about it one too many times, and nothing is being done.
When you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind, Nika. There are things I warned about more than 25 years ago. And the chickens from that have come home to roost. You would have heard the catchphrase, the cycle of abuse. Very simply what that says is, children who are abused or who grow up in abusive environments themselves, when they grow up, either tend to become abusers themselves or end up in abusive relationships. And then their children in turn now are in another abusive situation, and the cycle goes. But every time that cycle turns, it grows exponentially. 2 become 4, become 8, become 16, and so on, with every single turn.
Yeah.
I'm the only person who ever successfully mapped the social cycles in Trinidad and Tobago. The problem with the people in office is that they all think in political cycles. A political cycle is 5 years.
Yeah.
They cannot think beyond that. They're incapable. They're blind.
Can you minus?
They have to do what they have to do in 5 years.
Can you minus?
They skate through the first...
Can can you minus 2 years out of that? Because remember, there is planning. There's first the honeymoon stage,
I
and then
was
afterwards
going to say
the rush
that.
stage.
They skate through the
to get
first 2
back.
years, and then by year 3 they start planning, and year 5 is execution, so that they could get voted in again, and then the cycle starts all over.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking
right.
it would have been the other way around. The first year is honeymoon, and then the last year, they then start to get a grasp of reality and say, come on, let's get back in. But your perspective it's shares a different light.
Hey, look what happened to the PNM in Tobago
Yeah.
this last round. They tried to buy their way back into office, and everybody had had enough. I don't want this to be a political thing,
no,
please.
we're not going politics tonight.
I know, but I'm just using that as an example. All I'm saying is administrations think in political cycles. Me, I look at social cycles. When I started looking at the social cycles at the time, was we were entering a social cycle every 12 years. What do I mean by a social cycle? When does one generation start making the next?
Yeah.
Okay? Once every 12 years. Think about that. And I
victims of
projected
abuse.
forward. I projected forward because there's all kinds of factors that go into this, but I projected forward. I said by the time we get to a social cycle, that's 1 in every 5 years, we are in trouble.
Tremendous.
You want to know where I think Trinidad is right now?
Tell us.
We're off the precipice.
I want to hear it.
You are currently somewhere between 1 and 2 and 1 and 3.
Okay.
So yes, you are past the trouble point now.
Yeah.
Way past.
Well, fortunately, we still have people such as yourself and
I'm a
us here.
dinosaur.
No,
What?
you're not a dinosaur. Don't say that.
Nobody cares about me anymore, Nika.
That's
I'm
not
a
true.
voice
You have
from the past.
Look, we're going to get into the 126 million now because, all right, so let's go back a little bit and how to prove. We need to talk about proof and how to prove. According to the article, a high-ranking government official had been actively stalling your team's investigations. And what was alarming to me, it was the gender. It was a woman. She would tip off the homes that you'll be coming to visit. And then on top of that, she was also in charge of the check approval. So, I mean, it's as if you all were mashing her corn. You're going to be taking her money.
Is she a technocrat? Or one of them?
You know, we know how the thing does go. We know how the thing does
You
go.
know,
I said what I
No.
said. I will not comment further.
You wouldn't comment further.
As Patrick Manning used to say, those with eyes to see, see.
No, but there were obvious kickbacks that were going on. And I'm thinking now that that was the culture of that time. And unfortunately, cultures are inherited, as you just talked about the cycle. Do you have confidence now? You don't have to answer this question, but do you have confidence that the $126 million that has been recently approved for another task force intervention, do you think it has been inflated?
Nika,
You know I will ask you these questions, Robert.
Nika,
Yes?
look at me.
Yes, I'm looking.
Abracadabra. You see my phone anymore?
All right, let's move on. Moving on.
No. I'm making a point.
All right, I'm listening.
126 million? What magic? Where did that number come from?
Thank
Your
you.
task force has not been formed. There's been no scope of anything that's been developed. There's no project plan. There's nothing. And yet magically, like that.
So let me ask you.
There's
so let me ask you business.
$126 million.
Let me ask you.
$126 million.
Let me ask you this personal question. Did you get the equivalent of 126 billion 25 years ago, whatever that equivalent could have been,
You know,
for your
one of
task
the-
force?
one of the people commenting on the article online, because I read it out of interest for the first couple of days, and then I just said, I have no energy for this. But one of them said to me, the reason why I'm not naming names is because I was paid for me to shut up, and we're not releasing the report because we were well paid. And let me put it on the record.
You're beating me to it, you know. You know I was coming to ask you them questions.
Yeah. Let me put it on the record from now.
All right.
We were paid naught, zero, not even gas money. We did this out of duty.
Right.
Out of duty.
So that's when servitude, pride, national pride, wanting to see betterment existed abundantly within Trinidad and Tobago. We still have it, you know. We still have it. But
I
it's
take
just
my
a few people that are
responsibility.
marring.
I take my responsibilities, and I've always taken my responsibilities seriously. Okay? And because of what I had already seen in the course of the work I'd been doing in Trinidad, because of everything that I'd seen, and because of the reports I'd gotten, because here's something that's not in any of those articles.
Let me hear.
I'm a founding member of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. That's why I asked for Diana to be on the thing. I was one of the founders of the very first halfway house in Trinidad.
Wow.
I put together the whole training program for that, and it was mirrored for other homes. So I've been at this from the ground up. Nobody can teach me. I was the one teaching them.
All right.
That's what got me into so much trouble, especially in the Manning administration.
So, as you're bringing up that, about fear, car trunk to car trunk. I mean, I really thought it was a James Bond movie that I was reading, and rather dramatic. That was stated within the article, that you all had the report and you had to hand it from car trunk. You met somebody in some open space, in the dark, you looked left and right twice.
It was myself and Manohar.
Okay.
And it's because it was so sensitive. The people that, because nobody knew what was in the report, everybody was afraid of what might be in the report. Okay? And given some of the names that were called, the names that I cannot name, understand this, there is a duty of care here. That is part of the responsibility. There is a duty of care. Everybody's asking me, oh, it's 25 years later, release your report. It's not my report anymore.
Okay.
I chaired the task force, but it's not my report. From the time it was handed over, it became a confidential report that is owned by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. For me to hand over my copy would be basically for me to betray the oath I took. There's no intellectual property here. This is us giving a fact-finding of what we found. And even the report that we handed in was edited. It had to be.
It was,
the original draft, I
sanitized.
remembered, I wrote the whole thing from everything that all the members of the committee came in. But I'll tell you this, there was a palpable fear, a real fear,
I can imagine.
that this could get very dangerous for us because of where the various threads led.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Very dangerous.
It makes complete sense.
And it's because, in large part, of some of the political figures involved. Now, I know you want to ask a question, so I'll let you ask.
You know I'm going to ask some stuff about that.
I'm going to read your face. You ask.
All right,
I
well,
will either
I'm going to change the course a tiny bit and I'm
I
coming
will
back.
answer. I will answer what I can answer.
And
But
I will
understand.
respect you for that.
Okay, understand there are stories that can never
Never.
be told, Nika.
Yeah,
They can never be told.
yeah.
And the reason for that is not that I want to protect somebody. Yeah, I do. I want to protect myself and I want to protect the
Your
other
team.
people who work with me.
Yeah, your team. Yeah, because
Even
they
now.
will be victimized. They will be.
Even now. Yeah.
So, okay, we're looking at how politics go nowadays. And I've seen a drastic change in the decorum of the politicians now, considerably to how it was a couple of years ago. But Basio Pandey appointed you. He was in charge. So why him being in charge, why didn't he put his foot down and say, here what? Let's organize and fix up the homes. What really was going on?
No,
couldn't
you're
do
asking the wrong question.
I'm asking you. Everybody is
No, but you're
wondering
asking
that.
the wrong question. That wasn't up to Basdio Pandey.
So who was it up to? Who could have just gone in and just changed with a
Understand
magic
that there
wand,
is
change everything?
there is a process. When it comes to governing, there is a process. The minister appoints the task force at the direction of cabinet. The task force compiles their report, submits it to the minister. Minister in turn takes it to cabinet. Cabinet will deliberate. They will look at the recommendations made, and then those recommendations in turn will be passed on to whichever departments that have to look after whatever it is. That is the process. That is due process. That's how it's supposed to work. That's why there's checks and balances. Again, 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was a
we
different
didn't have
time.
we didn't have a group of people gerrymandering the Constitution and making things that should have been special majority into simple majority and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because,
So for you to say that by VAPS, Pandey should just say, oh, let's do this and let's do that. It's not up to him.
so
Cabinet as a collective has to make decisions and send directives.
no, I'm noting that that was totally a different era, considering what life is like now. And I'm hearing the passion within you. I'm hearing the integrity within you. How, I don't know how to ask this. How could you go?
You
do
say
you have a
English,
psychologist
English.
for a psychologist? How did you sleep at night considering what was going on and almost nothing could have been done? What happened to you and your team when you realized that everything just dismantled and it fell on, it was like water falling on a duck's back?
In my case, and this has nothing to do with the task force. I don't want you to think that there was a quid pro quo here. There wasn't. Mm-hmm. In my case, I ended up, because of other things, I ended up being appointed as High Commissioner to Canada. Nothing to do with the task force.
Yeah.
All right? One was incidental to the other. It just happens to be part of what I did. So I was removed from Trinidad after that. But for the period from the time we submitted the report up until when I departed, there was about an 8 months, 9 months period in there. And I was and remained very close with the minister at the time, which was Manohar Ramsara. Stories that cannot be told.
I can imagine.
The very individual who kept trying to block us while we were compiling the report is the person who eventually buried it. I will say that unequivocally.
Expected. We know
Okay?
how life happens here.
Somebody, and who that somebody is up to this day, I genuinely, I do not know. Somebody leaked a portion of the report, not the whole report, but a portion of the report. It was published in the Mirror, and they focused on our findings at St. Jude, which I see is back in the news again.
Always, always.
All right, but they focused on that portion of it. So clearly they had an agenda, which is fine. But that's the only time that anyone referenced the report. Shortly after that came out, the report disappeared. Like literally, it disappeared.
Someone has it. Someone has it, and that is being used as ammunition. They're just waiting for the right moment.
No,
No, you
you're
don't
wrong.
think so? You
You're
think-
wrong. I think we handed in 2 boxes, would have been about 40 copies of that report.
And all destroyed? If you all-
The exceptions would have been the copy I have in my basement here, because yes, I kept a copy. The copy that each member of the task force, they kept their own. The one that the Guardian used, I know where it came from. It was one of those. I won't say anything beyond that.
Yeah.
But how and who and how, all of us were technically bound by non-disclosure, and I don't mean in the sense of what Faris keeps saying, oh, non-disclosure. This is duty of care,
Yeah.
because these are people's lives we reported on. This is real things that happen to real people. And we named names where we could. See, this is the other thing. Why don't I name names? Because I can't.
Yeah. You're a doctor.
I
you can't-
cannot.
yeah.
I cannot name names for things I cannot prove, and that's why even the report that was tabled, the one that was submitted to cabinet, was edited from the original. The original, I wrote everything. I wrote down every single thing. Then I passed it through to everybody in the task force, just for them so that they could verify their section, because we parcel things out sometimes. It was just too much.
Yeah. I could imagine.
And a lot of them came back, you can't say this. If you say this, it's going to be problems for me. I have to worry about my family, this, that, and the other. You don't understand the degree of
treachery.
you're reaching for one end here, Buck. So what I'm reaching for is something visceral. It's something that lies between abject terror and just incredible anxiety, because we didn't know who to trust anymore.
Yeah. Being in that situation where your eyes are, you're seeing in a different way, because you're looking at persons that you had tremendous respect for, and then you're seeing their names coming up quite repeatedly.
No. You see,
No.
you're doing it again.
I'm sorry.
No. Don't
Don't say
get
that?
clouded. That's
Okay.
no, don't say that. Because again, you're getting the headline out there. I told you, it's a few names.
A few names.
A few names. They are the exception, not the norm. But they were a member of a known pedophile group.
So,
You wouldn't know this, but Buck, so you would remember when they arrested Hans Booz? at the zoo?
I remember that.
I remember that.
I
but
was
I can even
traumatized.
go a little deeper. I went into some of those schools to teach. We lost him?
No, he's there.
No, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
listening
to
to you.
teach boxing at some stage. And I've been told some things. And as you say, you cannot call names. But some names been called to me about things that happen to young children. I will say no more about that, but you know, it's enough to start some mind-boggling discussion. And you know, we can talk and talk and talk about all these things. And I heard you and I listened to you carefully. And I can feel the passion, the empathy, the fear, and compelled to, of sworn to secrecy. I can feel all those things in you. I mean, I ain't cut from that cloth. I ain't make up so. I will fight, and I will throw caution to the wind. And this is how I make up. You know what I mean? But you know, to each his own. I'm saying that. Poof. 126 million. It ain't going to redound to the program, the project, or the people. We need some accountability there. Poof! The children that been suffering, the people that been suffering at the hands of these type of people, who won't go away, by the way. They will increase in numbers. The pedophilias will increase in numbers. Now that things have gone even worse, people are suffering more and more. They will suffer you into submission, into secrecy, and they will hurt you. And at the end of the day, people are helpless and helpless to even, you know, to speak out. And I wish there were more Boxo Potses in the world that can, you know, you're killing me already, it's all right. I done dead already, it's all right. Because what they are doing, they are murdering the minds. This is murder of the minds.
And literal murder, because remember.
Murder, physical murder in some cases. People would have disappeared a lot. And then you would have murdered the minds to come back out here to finish the job and murder more. Go ahead.
So, you remember the St. Michael's home? I think it was in 2016. I might be a bit off. But there was an article that came out because a boy had died. And he fell off of the roof.
That was 2014.
2014, you see? He fell off the roof. And in that article, they were alarmed, but not too alarmed, because one of the boys, he was very much underage, at the age of 14. He left and he went home to one of the persons who worked there and impregnated that lady. In 2014.
A young boy, a 14-year-old boy.
A 14-year-old,
impregnated her.
yeah. And she took him home.
Okay.
So that is in the Gazette. It is there. And lo and behold, they are now going to be, they're going to reorganize and rebuild the same St. Michael home. Well, no, now it's going to be different, but
You've raised a very interesting thing here that I wanted to mention, but you finish your thought first, and then I'll speak. Go ahead.
no, but that's the thing. From time to time, and it's more often than not, we get reports in the Gazette for what is going on, what is transpiring within the homes, whether it is St. Michael's or one in Arima or another home, and many of them are not even legal homes. So it's amazing what is going on.
Okay. I can only speak from 25 years ago. Remember, I'm a dinosaur.
Yes, no, you're not.
Okay?
Very relevant to what's happening today.
A lot of people ask, well, if you knew all of that, why did government allow this to continue? Here's the thing. Government didn't run any of these homes. St. Jude's was run by the Carmelite nuns, which are part of the Roman Catholic home, at the Roman Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. St. Michael's is run by the Anglicans. Lady Ho Choi, well, that's a whole special case by itself. All right? And then you had this plethora of small private homes run by either different groups or clubs or whatever. But government itself didn't run any homes. All they did was provided, or at least was supposed to provide, the social worker support and financial aid. It's like saying, well, let's say like with the prestige schools you have, which are run by the churches, you know, they aren't government schools.
I got you.
They get subvention, but they're not run by government.
What was the social worker ratio to patients or care?
Oh my God,
What was that
Nika,
ratio like?
that was terrible then. I don't know what it is now, but in those days,
Yeah.
again, we did a very quick audit. The Ministry of Social Development at that time, if I remember correctly, had 29 social workers for a population of 1.3 million people. 29.
So that is for the homes as well as
It is for
normal people,
everything.
for everyone.
Everything.
Now, Robert, I'm going to say something. At one point in time, I did a 6-month stint at the MUS program. Now, the MUS program really was, they hired persons such as myself to be technology instructors, which is not a teacher. It's beyond that. And we were assigned 18 to 20. We start off with 20, and we hope and pray to God that we end up with 18 persons who are socially displaced. You take them and you try to enlighten them with a skill. So for me, I'm from hospitality industry. I had to take people. Sometimes you get bad batches. Sometimes you get fantastic batches. I had one who was in UE, but then I had some others who were in some dire situations, and they asked, they wanted help, and I was there for them, all 100% and more. And you had to take them and put them in fine dining restaurants. I'm telling you about somebody who would have been just running away from their husband, literally running away from their husband, because the person is coming with a cutlass to chop them right outside the center. And you had to take that person who was going through all those issues and get them stable to work amongst other persons throughout the day. Now, at the end of one day, dealing with them, teaching them life skills, etc., I was burnt out. I used to have to go by Shagaramas and sit down by the beach and decode. No way I could have faced my household, my quiet, serene household. No way. So I could imagine how social workers who don't have anything to give, they have no means to help. You know, you're facing someone on a daily basis, and you don't know how are you going to give somebody hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day, when they have to continue and face what it is that their horrible situation.
Nika, you.
So you're saying 1 point something
You
million, and only how many
are
social
speaking.
workers?
You are speaking about you trying to handle 18 to
Just
20.
18. So I can imagine what social workers feel like.
Social workers, at least 25 years ago, I cannot speak for now. 25 years ago. All right. The only comparison I could give is that in so-called first world countries like Canada, where I live now, the ratio, and it's mandated, the maximum number of cases a social worker is allowed per month is 10 to 12.
I believe
because
you.
otherwise they cannot be effective. Do you want to know what the workload was for social workers in Trinidad 25 years ago? Over 300. Now, I want you to do some math here with me. Just do simple math. Let's assume they worked an 8-hour day, Monday to Friday. Just simple math. Let's assume that they allowed every one of their clientele 15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes. Okay, let's figure this out. Simple math.
Simple math,
So
that's the
four,
equation
yeah,
for insanity.
that's assuming they never eat, never go to the bathroom, nothing. They go in rotation. You have all their clients lined up outside the door and so on, as though they want to pay their tea and tech bill. So you have all their clients lined up, and they have a stopwatch, one every 15 minutes. As your 15 minutes is up, okay, you out next.
No, that's
Okay,
the
just
new equation
let's
for
assume
insanity.
that
Yeah.
four people an hour, 8 hours a day is how many? Simple math.
My brain has just bursted there, and I'm good at maths. You work out the maths for me now. You have 4 people a day, and by how many hours is that?
32.
By 8 hours,
No,
that's
that's
32
not-
people a day.
No,
32
that's
people a
crazy.
day.
That's crazy.
That's 32 people a day.
It can't work.
For you to,
In 24 hours.
you need 2 weeks. All right, you need a total of 2 weeks for you to see all 300, assuming you work non-stop and give no more than 15 minutes
Yeah.
each. It's not possible.
It's not possible. It's not possible. That's why I said that is the new recipe or the new equation for insanity. That is the definition of insanity. It can't work. Because
And that's why
you're there with all
the
everyone's
burnout-
problems and you don't know
the-
how to help them.
The burnout rate was phenomenal. Uh, you know Havana St. Rose?
Yeah.
She came out of that. She was a social worker back in those times.
Yeah.
She could tell you stories.
But, Doc, let me ask you this.
Don't doctor me. I'm not a doc. I appreciate it, but thank you. Don't doctor me.
You said you're a psychologist. No?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm a doctor.
Of the mind. Of the
Doctor
mind.
of the mind. So tell me this. We've heard all the stories, we've heard all the problems, we've heard all the ills, we've heard all of this. What is the solution to this problem here and now and going forward? Give us some ideas of solutions.
If I take a jigsaw puzzle and dump it on the desk in front of you, all the answers are there. But unless you are able for you to see the picture you're trying to make out of all these pieces, you'll be fumbling forever. You don't know what goes where. You have to see a picture and say, okay, this piece looks like it goes here and so on. This is the problem. All the pieces are laid out, you know.
That's the soft
But people-
landing answer.
What's that?
I think that's the soft landing answer.
Soft. You want me to say, here it is.
No,
It's not that simple.
there is a
The-
solution.
there is, but the solution doesn't lie only and solely within the homes. You know, Annalisa Paul,
Good
who
part
did
of the
that,
answer. Good part of the answer.
yes, yeah. Annalisa Paul, who did the interview for the article you're referring to, Nika, she just interviewed me again on Sunday. And I made a point with her. There's a saying that sheep spend their lives being very afraid of the wolf, but in the end, it's the shepherd that eats them. What
That's
you
another
have
part of
here
the
is a
answer.
I hear a part 2
Yeah.
coming up. I
That's
see
another-
I see a part 2 of this interview because I hear you just talked to Annalisa Sunday. So wait till that is released.
All right. The point I'm making is the very people who are charged with protecting these children are the ones who let the wolves in.
Obviously. Obviously.
It's another good part of the answer.
Yeah. How is this fixable? Number one, you have to take government out of it. They're good for money and nothing else. Take them out of it. The Children's Authority is supposed to be an oversight body, and it should be independent.
But when you
They
have
do report, but not in the sense of a state enterprise. They do report, but you have to make sure that you begin by hiring qualified people. I was stunned when I read in one of the articles on the weekend that the last director or the current director was she got the work, as they say, because she was the candidate for was it for
Yeah.
Port of Spain South, but they give it to somebody else, so they give her this
Before
as
it's been.
come on. A party card is not qualification
person
for
get
you
a
to be
work, you
holding
say?
a position like this.
Yeah.
Who get the work?
I'll give you the article. I'll forward it.
So this person, you see, and as you say, it must not have political interference. But somehow the
That's number
politicians-
one. Number two, churches have to be out of this. Or if they are involved,
Part of the answer.
no. Okay, let me
Part of the answer.
qualify that. They can remain apart, but they have to be more accountable. When we were
that's better.
when we were dealing, for instance, with St. Jude's, remember, run by Carmelites. All of us went to see Archbishop Hampton, not once, 4 times. We begged the man, please. The video has dropped. Are you guys there? Hello? Because I realized, oh, there you are.
Yes,
There you are. Okay.
So you're giving us some good parts of the question I answer. You have 3 parts. Keep going.
Keep going. But it sounds like you already have the answer, Buxer. You don't need me for that. You could talk.
I know the
Look.
answers,
Yeah.
but it's not
What
for me
I
to
mean,
say-
what I mean about getting the churches to be more accountable, the best example I can give you is what's going on here in Canada with the residential schools.
Okay.
Okay, where the churches finally had to step up and say, we are responsible for all of this abuse that went on, and we're sorry.
Next part of the answer. Go ahead.
Okay?
That accountability will be fantastic. It will also be very healing.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
would.
saying, I'm
But
sorry,
unfortunately, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Instead, all I'm hearing is let's throw money at this. The other part of the problem is when the kids reach a certain age, they're kicked out on the streets because they're no longer qualified to be in the homes.
Well, I know.
And where did they end up?
Well, I know for a fact the Office of the Prime Minister, some years ago, the PS who was there, they were trying to put together an aftercare home. I don't know what happened with that. I really don't know whatever happened
A
with that.
transitional home of some sort, a
Yeah.
halfway house, if you will.
But for how long?
Yeah,
How
that
long?
was that was one of our recommendations.
Yeah.
Where did that go?
These
Oh. There's no new ideas here. It's all been done. The pieces are laid out in front of you, but people don't see the picture, so they can't put the jigsaw puzzle together.
So, Robert, there's also another question. I'm going to be devil's advocate, and you could choose how to answer this question. So, according to the article and its title, at that point in time, it was a UNC government. Can you say whether or not any of those persons that were named were part of the UNC government?
I will categorically tell you no. None. You have to remember the UNC had been in office a little over a year. What we ran into was something that was already well established and endemic.
So are you saying that we could assume that they were active members of the PNM government or officials, active members of that party who were part
I
of that
neither
title for
confirm,
the
I
article?
neither confirm nor deny.
You're not going to confirm or deny, okay. And you know the
I
the
neither
title of that
confirm nor
article was
deny.
Wards and Grooms for Politicians and
Good answer.
Businessmen.
Good answer.
I
Same
neither
answer.
confirm nor deny.
Yes.
And a very good answer. I like the answer because people,
We have about 2 more minutes.
yeah, but people know time and people know when these things happen. They know who were the administrators. They know who were in office. People know all of that. So you ask a good question.
asked.
And the answer
The
is very
people
good.
want to know. The people want to know.
No,
I'm
but the people
representing.
know. The answer is in itself. It's self-explanatory in that I will neither confirm or deny. But you all know that at that time who was in office.
You can't thank us, you know.
No, I'm saying it. And you know, I have to be who I am. I cannot be
They say
somebody
that
else.
time is longer than twine.
Yeah.
Robert?
One of the key individuals has now shuffled off his mortal coil. He's gone. But one of the other key individuals still holds a very high position. The best clue, I can't speak to this. I cannot call names. But if you recall the story of the young boy who was buggered and who was drowned in a pool.
In the pool?
Akil Chambers.
I didn't say anything. It's these two.
I-
Earl and
No, Akil Chambers.
The autopsy report on that boy went the same way as our report because the DNA of 2 of these individuals were found in his body, in his anus at the time. I will say no more.
So we know,
This-
to answer your question,
This is a single incident, a glimpse of how dark this got for us.
Yeah. Robert, I would like to thank you so much. And of course, because we know that there's another article, we are going to invite you again. Thank you so much for being a guest and always being a true patriot of the soil. Thank you so much.
you've been a great help, this has been a great eye-opener. What you call it, the good citizens will say, yes, this is good. The deceitful one would say, well, you're going with that. And those who are helpless and need to feel that they will get some crumbs from the crumbs, they will stay quiet like the sheep and wait to be slaughtered. This whole discussion, it's like deja vu. I've seen this movie before.
So many times.
And we keep going wrong and wrong. And I'm saying to you that technocrats, you know who you are. I'm not afraid of you all. Government ministers, you know who you are. People in associations and organizations, you all know who you are. We know who you are. People in the institutions,
Take care, we get cut off.
we know who you are.